I'm not sure if it's that I get a lot of requests to cover Southwark Station, or if it's just a couple of guys who keep asking for it over and over, but nevertheless today I am going to look at Southwark Station. Southwark is one of the newer stations on the London Underground network, having opened in November 1999, and it makes me feel very old that I still think of this as a new station when it has in fact been there for over 20 years. The station was opened as part of the Jubilee Line extension, a programme to improve transport in South London and provide a quick service to Canary Wharf. Originally there wasn't going to be a station here. The line was going to bypass this area altogether. It was a later addition to the plan, intended to serve two purposes. One, to help bring passengers to the attractions on Bankside as part of a revitalisation of the area. And two, to provide more direct access from the Underground to Waterloo East, as a way to ease the crowds at Waterloo. It's not the first station here, as can clearly be seen thanks to a sympathetic restoration. There used to be a station serving Blackfriars just opposite, built by the Charing Cross Railway, which got taken over by the South Eastern Railway. This closed in 1869, by which time it had been renamed Blackfriars Road. I know that's not really relevant here, I just love me an abandoned station. I find it a little curious that they called the station Southwark. They could have called it Waterloo East, they could have called it Blackfriars Road, they could have called it Bankside, but they chose Southwark. The thing is, it's actually on the very edge of Southwark, by the boundary with Lambeth. Yes, it's technically within Southwark, but only just. It just seems odd to me is all. I would have called it Waterloo East if it was up to me. So what of the station itself? The Jubilee line here runs directly beneath the viaduct that holds Waterloo East. The stations on the Jubilee extension follow a similar pattern. They make heavy use of concrete and steel in what I guess we might call a variant on brutalism. I'll let people who actually know about architecture decide whether that's a correct assessment or not. Certainly they're not shy about letting me know when they think I've got it wrong, often quite forcefully. There's also a lot of glass in order to make the best use of natural light. Before the Jubilee line extension, the last completely new underground line to be built was the Victoria line. Now, the Victoria line had been built to a budget, the government being pretty stingy with their funding at the time. This resulted in stations that quickly proved to not be up to the job. That wasn't a mistake London Transport were going to make again, and so the stations on the Jubilee line were intended not only to cater to the traffic there was, but to anticipate growth in passenger numbers. Hence, the stations were to be more spacious than necessary. While there was a common brief, each station on the extension was to be designed by a different architect. Sir Richard McCormack of MJP Architects won the design brief for this one. The Commission for Architects in the Built Environment describes it as a spatial sequence of notable sculptural effect, which I think is a good thing. I don't know. Influence was taken from Charles Holden and John Soane. This blue wall was inspired by the set for an 1816 production of The Magic Flute, designed by Carl Friedrich Schinkel, specifically the spectacular hall of the Queen of the Night. The station actually has planning permission for a 12-storey building to be constructed on top. This has not been exercised, which I think is a good thing. The Cut, the street on which the station stands, is mostly fairly low-rise, and I think a 12-storey building would overwhelm it somewhat. Whether this permission will remain unexercised forever, I cannot say. The station is relatively minor as central London stations go. I know someone's going to complain about me calling this central London, but what's important is not to let it get me down. The point is that it's no Waterloo in terms of passenger numbers. In fact, during the first lockdown, it was actually closed. Since it opened, it's been overtaken by the rebuilt Blackfriars in terms of convenience for Bankside attractions. Nevertheless, passenger figures tend to hover around between 13 and 17 million annual users, so it certainly serves a purpose. Hello all, I hope you enjoyed this spatially sequential tale from the tube. If you did, perhaps clicking the like button would be in order, followed maybe by a subscription to ensure that you see my future videos. As always, I'd like to thank my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon for their generosity. You are the magic to my flute. Links in the description below for the exclusive content available on those sites. And I'll see you all again very soon for another tale from the tube.